No, just on the regular streaming channel.
It should be just come on.
Church website.
Was it good? Okay, good. I was stressing out. So I want to say good morning to everyone and good morning. Good morning to those that are going to be streaming with us, that are streaming with us this morning. Welcome to our brunch at Books with Pastor Rick, and Pastor Rick is in route, and he's going to be joining us. We're going to our format that we attempted to set up for this particular event is designed for us to just really be very casual. So this is going to be a very casual, as much as we can duplicate book review if you had one even at your home, just so that we can talk and have some dialogue, have some exchange. And let me just make a disclaimer here. We only have these questions, not to make this feel like a lecture, not to make this feel like anything other than a good book discussion. And it's just some primer questions and some various things that we're going to be going over with you. So let me grab my book. Hand me that, Jocelyn. And my little notebook too. Yeah, grab this right here. We're gonna have some thoughts here. And just for fun, and I know we're kind of munching. Now, those of you that are at home, I think we warned you now. You gotta get yourself something so you can have a real virtual experience. And I had someone yesterday to send me a message. They wasn't sure if they were going to be able to make it, but they asked me to Uber over their brunch snacks. I was like, ain't happening. How you doing, Viola? Good, 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 good. And so, well, I have really been excited about this. The book that we're going to be reviewing today is the book from our summer read, Change Your Heart, Change Your Life. And it has been an absolute amazing read. And that's what we're here to talk about today. I want to say as well is that not only am I assisting Pastor Rick with the book club as far as these type of events, but also Karita Byers. And everybody probably know Karita. If you don't know Karita, you know Imani. And her now grown married daughter. But Karita is going to be, is one of our facilitators for the session as well. So again, we're only here to facilitate the process. And Karita, why don't you just come up too and greet our audience online, and so they can at least see your face and be able to hear. And Karita is the person also going to have the microphone that's going to be able to circulate it. So in order for our virtual guests to be able to hear, they're going to have to use the microphone. And I know somebody's going to say, oh, I don't need a microphone. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. So,
yes.
So
just want to say good morning to our audience, and we're glad that you have joined us for our book discussion. We look forward to this time with you and in person.
Wonderful. Okay. So yes, that's exactly right. Stephanie is going to pass out and help Karita with circulating the mic and so forth. But we thought it would be fun just to hear from you all can you come up with a word that you would say describes the book? When you think about the book, what is one word? Karita, you had a good word.
The word that I had was enlightenment.
Okay, anybody? Oh, took
Empowerment.
Empowerment. Enlightenment, empowerment over here. Val, Trudy, Sheila, Stephanie, Mike. Hello. Yep. We the question on the floor now, one word that maybe describes the book.
Challenged.
Oh. She went real deep.
It challenged me.
Challenged. Yes.
That's what I told I didn't say challenge. I like challenge better, but I did say convicted.
Convicted.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Is that your word, Stephanie? Okay.
That's the word? Yes. It's just different. It wasn't condemning, but it did. Like you said, you know, like really challenging. Really look
And for you that we have online, type them in. Brian will shout out your word if you have one. Any word? Sheila, do you have a word? Real.
Word with
Yeah.
Yeah. Another description of the book. Bobby, you looking? What's your word?
I got too many words. Thought-provoking.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think life changing.
Life changing. Yeah.
Life changing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Provoking, life changing.
I would say eye opener.
Very good. I like that.
And revelatory from online.
Revelatory. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, that was yes. That is yes. Yeah. I don't think I could have written it. I'm like, they ain't gonna talk to me no more. I put all my little ratchet stuff down. But you know, it's I was honest. Mm-hmm.
Honest, that's another good one.
One of the things that that I thought about the book is, again, how transparent he is. I lost my train of thought. There was something else I was going to say to come back to me, but anyway, that's what you do. So why don't we just jump into some of the book discussions? We're not going to keep you. Just, you know, feel free to get up if you want to go have some more fruit or anything out there. That's good. But why don't we jump into the discussion questions? And if we'll do a better job the next time. But as far as posting these, so our viewers online can also participate in it. But we'll give you, I'll read the question. We'll just start with the first question. And these are not in any particular order. Some of your answers may even answer different parts of the book or whatever. But what was, anybody want to share what was their favorite part of the book? Yes.
Angela Salon.
And what I was going to say, came back to I'm kind of at that point where no, it's one of the first books in a very long time that I just shared with people. I sent one to one of the individual. I mailed somebody a copy and, you know, been talking about the book and really sharing it. And so that's what I wanted to say. It was that good.
So I guess what was enlightening for me, or the favorite part, is how he broke down the ABCs and how he went from the A to the C, and acknowledging that a lot of times people overlook the belief that builds on that thought or the reaction to that situation. So that the most powerful thing for me was that ABC concept, and getting in touch with your thoughts and changing your heart as it relates to your thought process.
And she's referencing for the paper copy book, because that was one of the points that I put down too, Angie. So thank you for that. So I can look like I got the book memorized, but I really don't. So page 22. Yeah, page 22 is like what really causes your emotions. And the ABC is the event that happens to you, whether it's good or bad. If something good happened to you, there's an emotion with that, or something bad. And then B, what do you think about the event that happens to you? And then C, feelings that result from what you think of the event. So there was another individual that we were kind of, you know, sharing as we read, and it's like, I love the ABCs. I love the ABCs. And then it's one of those things that makes it like, you can remember it. You can remember it. So I'm going to switch places now. And so we're talking about what was your favorite part of the book. Pastor Rick has now joined us, and I'm going to gladly switch places with you. Anybody else want to share? Angie shared her favorite part of the book was the ABC. Viola? Hold on a second. We got to get the microphone so those that are drinking can hear you.
Okay, my favorite part in the book was the dead.
Ooh, the deadly. Yes, yes.
Was something.
Anything in particular you want to highlight for someone that maybe did not read that part in terms of the deadlies? And is that the section where he's talking about the pride of life, the lust of the eyes, in the flesh? Yes, yeah. Sure. Anyway, go ahead. Anything else?
Well, what I would like to say, just the one about the pride of life, you know, that can really, I mean, that opened up my eyes, just knowing the pride of life can really affect all of us. I mean, if you think about it, you think you got it going on, or then you see something else and say, no. So I really like that, the lies that can, you know, go off in our head, making us think we're more than what we really are.
But also the balance of that, one of the scriptures that he even promoted a lot was love the Lord thy God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, and your neighbor as you love yourself. So he was not taking a shot at you loving yourself or caring about yourself. I mean, that's just, but being balanced with that. Anyone else? Favorite part of the book? You gotta get the microphone so they can hear you online.
Oh, scratch my head, but who's the test?
Oh, yeah.
The test. Well, I took at the back of the book and I realized we got ways to go. We got ways to go.
Yes.
Nobody did in God's word no part.
Absolutely.
Anybody else have an interesting thought about the test? And let me just confess, I didn't take the test because I'm like, anyway, it's in the book. It was.
No,
So wait a minute, listen at her reading. What'd you say?
he just said test. And you know, when you're reading, it said go back. So I went on, I did test because I wanted to know, because I'm serious about, you know, cleaning my heart, you know, having a heart for God. So it was enlightening, it was a bit intimidating, and I did have to stop. I'm gonna be honest and say, okay, stop, tell the truth. What is the honest thing? No hiding. If you really want to know, no hiding.
I don't care.
You know, just be honest. And then the other part was, nobody's gonna see my score but me. So you need, you know, just to be honest, I thought it was really good. And gave me a starting point.
And my viewpoint on the test was it does really open your eyes, because some things you thought you were over and you done got passed. When you take that test, you might need to go back and do some things. So
Okay. So we in the essence of trying to get through a couple of the other questions. Number two, and again, these are just to generate conversation. Anyone want to share any personal highlights that influenced you the most, and maybe any particular thing other than the test? The test is what page number is the test on? It's in the appendix. If you didn't complete the book and you want to take the test or whatever, you know. And so I'm sorry about that. So did you have any personal highlights that influenced you the most? Carolyn.
Okay, so the initial highlights from the book, we're talking personal from the book, is when starting to read, and I think I went to Sheila. Oh, yes, I think I went to Sheila about this at first. It was on page 22. The A, the B, and the C. Yes. It looks like, well, you know what? I don't like this man already. He making me. And you never consider the B in any situation that we're going through. We just know we feel this, and I'm mad at you about it. So we never look at the root cause of why we feel what we feel. The root cause of why we feel what we feel, and how we reacted to what it is. But what is the core of the question? What's the real core of the question, or the feeling? What's the real core of the feeling? And once you get to the core of the feeling, you start doing some self-evaluation and maybe get some resolution to why you feel some things.
So, And there's this quote in there that actually that was on page 21, a quote by Dr. William Vaca said, "You feel the way you think, and you think the way you believe." And for me, that was just such a personal highlight in terms of thinking about the power of your thoughts. And I have one of those overactive minds. And so I guard myself a lot with what I allow to get stuck in my head, if you will. And so I like that quote. You feel the way you think and you think the way you believe. So our beliefs are the primary source of our attitudes. And I think being sensitive, that really helped me. Go ahead, Angie.
I was gonna say,
Hold on, let it jump in.
one thing that I wasn't aware of is that I am an emotional hoarder. And just when I think
is a great, remember seeing that from the book. Emotional hoarder. Okay.
and sometimes that has hindered my emotional growth because I'm stuck in that. So yeah. So
I love that. I'll make sure I didn't have my pen there, but I like that. Emotional hoarder. That was describing. Yeah, it's kind of like, okay, I'm thinking too much of this. Did you have something, Jocelyn?
Based on that too, how this book actually took you back and made you think about your entire life up to this point. So no one can make you happy. That's your choice. And everything is centered around that, of what someone said to you, what someone did to you. You have the power of your thoughts. And what you said a few minutes ago, how he said how Saul had everything, but he told us to guard our hearts.
Yes.
Yeah. So how he's going back to the word and using God's words and his principles to help us do that.
And one of the other things that he says, and it's so simple. And I guess at the end of the day, all of it is real simple, but just having it just put in the context is really nobody controls your happiness. And that you can't, the part that he said is that the only person that you can change, that was a highlight for me. The only person that you can really change is yourself. And so that's the part that I have been dwelling on. And it's just been nice. It's like, let Karita stay like she is. I can't change Karita, you know. We start focusing on the wrong things a lot of times when we are trying to work through stuff, and we just think if our spouse or if our family member would act a certain way or do whatever, just be born in my family. It's like, no, they're not going to change today. So are you going to be miserable until they do? So I love that part. Okay. And again, online, jump in. Brian is going to read any questions that you may have or any personal highlights that you want to share for question number 2. Anybody? Wait a minute. Brian has one, and then we'll come back to Trudy. Yes, as a man thinketh, so is he. Sister Nelson, yes. Go ahead, Trudy.
I think one of the highlights that really meant a lot to me, and I can't even remember what chapter was in, stomping out the ants.
yes.
That is something that really was a good affirmation.
Yeah.
So when those automatic negative thoughts.
Yeah, I wrote that down too. Yeah.
And we need to immediately replace it. Why am I having this? How besides people in a negative way or a situation negative? Why? And then instead of dwelling and making it grow or allowing it to grow, we replace it with deliverance.
Yes.
And that's one of the things that I have learned too. That may another book, I don't think he talked about it, is your brain. There's a certain part of your brain, it's designed to do one thing, just pump out a bunch of thoughts. It's just pump them out, pump them out. That's what it's designed to do, nothing else. But those automatic negative thoughts, it's kind of like, it's amazing what you dwell on and what you can. Somebody asked me the other day, I said, I just really don't remember. It's like, well, how can you remember this? How do you remember that? I don't know, ask my brain. I'm sure it's in there in my brain somewhere, but what comes to mind a lot of times. So, all right, let's go to, I'm almost done here. What ways did the book, well, I think we probably talked about that, impact your thinking or your perspective in any kind of way? Anybody want to jump in and take a shot at that? A little different angle in terms of how it impacted your thinking?
Overall, it's about, for me, it was about just being intentional about what you consume yourself with. And I'll give you an example and how I had to immediately implement. A family member yesterday made a comment, and it wasn't in a mean-spirited way, but they said something. And if I had not have probably read this book, or it would have consumed me. But I literally had to be intentional about it. And so when they called me this morning, I sarcastically answered the phone at what they said. And they was like, I said, I know you didn't mean it like that, but this is one of the things that I've learned to do is if it's not positive, if it's not uplifting, if it's not inspiring, don't say it. I said, because again, I know who I am, so I'm not responding to what you said to the comment, but suppose it was someone else. That might have, and again, that used to be me. That used to be me. So it's just making me be more aware and more intentional about it, because again, you hear it and you keep thinking those negative thoughts, but it's not what you respond to. Exactly. Okay, I'm responding in a different way. So.
Okay. And we're going to be asking Pastor Rick some questions here in a minute, so I'm going to speed through this one here. Were there any points in did you have any segments of the book that surprised you? Now, for me, I just want to jump in. I was just surprised at how transparent he was about his journey. Yes. I was just totally surprised. I'm like, good Lord, I don't know if I'd been writing all of that, but but it is how you help people, So anybody else?
Okay, Carolyn, we had a lot of questions because this book was like, whoa. Yeah. So in the chapter where he was talking, this maybe 3 or 4, when he was so very transparent on how he looked at women and how his eyes just really undressed them, I was like, okay, Christian, are you really serious, sir? Are you really saying all this stuff? But he said what other people would think, and it triggered thoughts to me. It triggered thoughts like, oh my God, we really do that. And we do it so innocently, supposedly, that we don't realize how sinful it really is. Coming back to the fact of lust of the flesh and lust of the eyes and lust of the ears and lust of the it's like, geez, Louise, how can we ever as human? I mean, it takes a lot for us to ponder on and eventually get it right. And I'm like, oh God, you got a whole lot of work to do.
It's good. Anybody? Anything? Right here.
What's your name again? Tasha. Yes. Hey, Tasha. I'm kind of going back on the question where it's about the impact of your thinking and your perspective. I really enjoyed how you explained how to show love to your enemy, what it looks like. It said, hate the sin, but love the sinner. So he gave a lot of different analogies throughout the book on love. So that was one particular section that really changed my thinking and perspective on it. Okay, great.
So were there any points did you have one, Angie? Hold on, Karita's working hard today.
Yeah, just exercise. And we can see a piece of microphone so those online can jump in. Right, let us know if we have another comment that they need to share.
So the one thing that kind of stood out is when Solomon went to God and he asked him for wisdom, and how he demonstrated if you get the wisdom, it kind of gives you like a domino effect in every aspect of your life. So sometimes we go to God and we ask him, well, Lord, I want a bigger house, or I want this, or I want that. But wisdom is like a cure-all for everything. And how he put it in such a way that if you have the wisdom, you'll make better decisions in all aspects of being.
Okay, online, Brian? Hold on a second.
The more you get a revelation of God and with God, the more you learn how to.
Okay. Okay, great. That's great. Now, were there any points that you just say, I don't agree with that?
Yeah. Okay, so what I didn't agree with, this man just gave body blows all over the place.
Body blows.
Body blows. It was body blows, Sheila. It was actually the WWF of what we should and should not do. He talked so much about how we can get our lives together. I think I marked it in my book because I was like, good grief, man, can you give us a break? You know, I said, a break.
Get your
it's materialism. He was talking about so much about materialism and shopperism.
Oh,
and
consumerism, hedonism, pleasureism.
Yeah.
The isms.
It ism me. And yes, it was. But you know, the question would be, we've been set up for this. So how do you unset from this? Because there's a lot to unset from. And it's just definitely gonna take a lot of work.
And one of the angles that I took on some of those points wasn't so much that he was taking a deep dive at us enjoying any things. One of the points that I brought out, he's a multimillionaire, okay? He has written countless books that he made a whole bunch of money from, that he talks about that. So I don't think he was talking about that per se in terms of stuff, as much as us being sensitive in terms of how we'll consume, how we can be consumed by things, because God has given us all things to enjoy. So it wasn't one of those kind of things for me, you know, to your point. But am I overly concerned? We had a little preliminary discussion, and there's one of the a term that I learned earlier part called the soft life. And the concept of that, and I didn't even until we was looking up, it's a term that's been around since the 1600s. But the whole soft life is built on the premise of, I don't want to stress myself out. I want to have everything that I want to have, and I want to work as little as I can to get it, and just everything that goes along with that. And everything is about what I can get for me, you know, and that whole idea of become a lover of yourself kind of thing. So for me, that was one of the, I didn't miss those things. And there's some great balance that we can bring with that. But the name of this event, again, is Brunch and Books with Pastor Rick. So Pastor Rick, I'm tagging with you. Pastor Rick. Y'all, let's give the pastor a hand now. Okay. Oh.
I think you being so everybody online. Hey, I enjoyed being here. I was consumed in my mind a minute ago. And so Brian told me, he wants to wear the microphone. I just, here, take this then. Let's swap out. There you go, Brian. I'm on this mic now. To be honest, I was just consumed by something that happened outside of this event for a minute. And I had to kind of rally my brain back around. The book helped me just a minute ago. Because basically the one part of the book that really spoke to me was about changing the way you think and how that affects how you feel. And one of the challenges in life is regulating how you think and how you define things. When you deal with all the different sides of life that I deal with, there are moments when you really run yourself. So I love what I've heard you say. I've loved the thoughts. Now, let me just see if I can jump into some of the questions. One of the questions was, what do I disagree with in the book, right? Was that one of them? Yeah. Bring one of the sheets so I can see one of the sheets. I kind of, the questions, let's go to the question part of it, the test. I took, he said his son put that together with his team, right? And I looked at the test and I said, this is a setup. That's what I said. I said, it's a setup, it's kind of like, okay, do you eat too much food? How often do you eat too much food? Do you ever think about eating too much food? Your point is don't eat too much food, right? So I mean, I understood his point even about the consumerism and eating and the whole spending too much money and all. And Sheila and I, we talked about this kind of, earlier in the week. And she argued his point, which I thought was great, the balance of it all. Part of the challenge in reading any book is if you read all of it from cover to cover, and most of us don't read every book from cover to cover. We jump into the parts we like. And I feel I have a right to do that because it's my book. I pay for it. So I go to the chapters and the things I like. The part of the book that affected me the most was the part about it defining my feelings for me and linking it to my thinking. So if I want to change my feelings, I've got to change the way I think about stuff. But the problem is you can skip stuff and misjudge a person because you didn't catch the whole flow. Like, for example, Sheila said, I didn't even hear that word. What was the word? Pleasurism, right? Yeah. I saw the pleasurism, skipped over the hedonism. I go through the parts that I like. And so in this book, I'm guilty of doing that. And I just, once I read that part that I like, I just sat there and looked at the book for a while. Like, this is all I needed. I have what I call the worth the book, WTB. Say that with me, please. Come on. WTB. I often say, when I mark up my books, and I'm only a digital guy these days, I said, this is my WTB. To me, the statement, as a matter of fact, would you bring me my iPad there, Miss Karita, wonderful person. I'll read to you quickly what just stopped me dead in my tracks. Thank you. And I was sitting there and I was like, man, this is such a cool part. He said, you feel the way you think. And you'll say, what page? It's on page 21. You feel the way you think the way you believe. That was it for me. That was WTB, worth the book. Because my beliefs affect how I feel. So if I'm in a conversation with you and I believe it's important to convince you of this, or I'm not going to be happy because of that belief system, I'm going to feel bad until I convince you, which means this conversation has to go on and on and on and on and on until I convince you. And if I never convince you, I'm going to feel bad. But if I can say, I don't care. if I can say, I'm going to tell you my opinion, and if you don't believe it, it's okay. We don't have to be enemies over it because I don't believe I have to win the argument. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So my beliefs affect everything I do. And as a pastor, it really was helpful to me. If I believe I got to have church every day, and if I believe I got to preach until you shout, then we're going to be here until you shout. You understand? So for me, it just took me down this path of analyzing what I believe and realizing that some of the bad feelings I had were tied to bad beliefs. That why am I that sad about those things? What is it that's causing me to feel this way? Diane has this tremendous ability to get under my skin because she'll say something and mean nothing. And I'm stuck on what she said. She don't believe it's important. She was just talking. And I had to learn to say, okay, well, that was just talking. I don't have to go back and have a conversation or win the argument. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes in relationships, it happens with your kids. It happens with, sometimes they just believe this for the next 10 years. You just have to say, okay, that's your next 10-year belief. I can't change that today. That may be the rest of your life. You may believe that. I can't change that for the rest of your life. So whatever it is, for me, that was the one part that really spoke to me. Now, the part that I disagreed with which Sheila and I talked about a little bit, I thought he leaned with those tests in particular. I thought it leaned over the cliff a little bit about, and she kind of helped me see that's not what he was saying, kind of, sort of. And that, worrying about becoming materialistic, I felt there was a big emphasis on not being too materialistic. Would that be right? Right? And that somehow you needed to be careful not to be too greedy. Now I always flip that this way. And I'm not saying this because I know he's done well. He's a very successful person. Successful people are successful because they're ambitious. To get to your first $1 million, there's a level of work, discipline, and investment you must make to get to the first $1 million. Most churches don't get there. Most individuals don't get there. And that's tied to skill and other dynamics and gifting and all that, and opportunity and all fairness, and you know, all that. But sometimes when I read stuff like that, if I'm not careful and I'm not able to get to the other side of the argument, I'll worry that I'm too materialistic if I want money or if I want position or if I want opportunity. And so I won't strive hard. I'll equate humility with poverty. Does that make sense? So that, you know, and I hear a lot of pastors just struggle with self-promotion. So they don't want their pictures on the billboard. They don't want, you know, the church to give them any money. They drive raggedy cars, or, you know what I'm saying? They feel guilty because they have a nice suit on. I know guys who struggle with that. So you raise up a congregation of people who don't want you to have anything. And I don't think a guy who has never seen $1 million can lead you to one. That's my opinion. A guy who's afraid, you know, we would never build a mall. We would never build an airport. There would never be a Delta Airlines if somebody didn't have a $1 billion vision. Are you with me? So for me, when I read that part, I went, okay, we lean in now, we lean in heavy, now we lean in heavy. And then Sheila showed me, he threw it back, Pastor Rick. He threw it back, yeah.
Well, it's business. Look how he building, putting all those things in place, all those different steps based on his talent and those kind of things. And then when he tried to pass it over to other people and they wasn't running it like he thought, he's like, we're gonna go broke. So let me get my business back.
I hope you heard that, but that's how you're right. When he built the business, he went and got it back. But his was interesting. This is something I have noticed. This is my opinion. All my friends who've done well play down how they got well. Oh, it's just the Lord. Jesus just blessed me. Oh, it's just the Holy Spirit. You know, and I'm saying, no, you got up, how many hours you worked a day? No, you a strategic thinker. No, you were reading like a maniac. No, you went and got you an MBA or whatever you got, or you got good advisors. There is a work element. There is a science behind success. And I think that if you read one part of the book and don't get to the other part, or here's the problem, if you can't make that critical connection, the problem is what you see in reading is critical thinking. And it's putting this with that. And in life is like that. When I deal with people, a lot of times I listen. I was in a class. I was in a doctoral class, my first year in the doctoral program. And somewhere, first, second year. And I remember one of the conversations was about those pastors who have all that security in a church and have those people following them around bodyguards, and they were telling all these stories and how I had to tell the pastor to be humble. And I said, wow, I'm the only pastor in here, and everybody else is wanting to be a pastor. No, I was the only pastor, and maybe one more. And so my point was, I just kind of raised my hand. Have you ever been threatened? Have you ever had nobody in the room understood that those things are there for a reason. Hope they never have to be used. But my point was, you tend to, if you're not careful, lean into opinions without knowing the other side of the opinion. One of the joys of reading is it forces you to do that. So for me, those are the couple of things that stood out to me as points of concern. But Sheila Bishop, in her gracious conversation with me, showed me both sides of the argument, which was very well stated. So I want to pause there. Where should I jump in? I know people online, I don't know if anyone online has a question. Feel free to type it in if you do. Is there a question online, Brian? No, not yet. Okay. Ms. Bishop, give Ms. Bishop that mic. And then Ms. Bishop, tell me where we want to go with the questions and what part of this would you like me to?
Maybe specific questions that anyone would really specifically like to ask Pastor Rick in terms of you know, questions we've already talked about or opinions you may have about it or anything you might want to clarify, just to have some good dialogue and change. And we thought it'd be fun too, Pastor Rick. One of the questions I asked you and I was sharing with Karita on this is, why are you so committed to having a book club? Why do you think reading is so important?
Obvious reasons, but
Yeah, I am adamant about reading. Reading, first of all, it's a small group. This is what I want us to do a lot more of. Because church, in the traditional sense, is too big. It's too big to get to know people. It's too big to ask questions. Jesus talked to how many people? 12. And he really talked to how many people? 3. Peter, James, and John. Those are inner circle. When preachers teach, sometimes it's one way. It's long and it's one way. And so, give me a bottle of water, please, a little water. It's really, is that holy water? It's your water. Oh, you don't give it to me? We got a nurse going to donate some water to the preacher. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You can give her that water now. We don't want to replace this. This is now, Father, bless this in Jesus' name. Thank you. Thanks, Carolyn. Jesus talked to 12 people, and the benefit of that is they can ask questions. I think a lot of people, a girl told me just the other day, she said, I went to the store, and she says, I stopped going to church a long time ago. And I went to a holiness church. First of all, I was too long, church too long. And plus, they would never answer my questions. I said, really? She said, no. And I got hard questions. I said, I'll tell you what, you bring me your hard questions. I mean, hard. Now, she cooked her leg and she kicked the leg out like that. That's what she did. She said, hey, hard questions. And, you know, I think there is a place where you got to create that opportunity for people to talk, and you've got to give them topics. Books give us topics. It gives us a theme. You know, I just think it helps you. The book we're going to do next month is going to set you on fire. That's what I think. I'll let her tell you about it in a second. But this is why I like small groups. I like the fact that we need to do this. And I think this is how you grow bigger. Because if you grow bigger people and you let people talk to you, plus you learn. All this one-way talking, I'm sorry to say it like this, in a preaching context, doesn't give you knowledge about the people you're leading. They can't say, what do you mean by that? You know, and I'm not saying we'll do it on Sunday morning because that'll get to be chaotic, but you do understand it is valuable. So that's why I believe in it.
And to that point regarding the next book that we're going to read, I would say, probably most of us, based on what you said, that this one was a real churchy, not necessarily churchy per se, but, you know, draw you closer to God, really impact your thinking with that one. And I think in many ways, this one doesn't mention any scripture, and it can do the same thing if you allow it. But why do you think it's for your book club? Not all of your books are Christian per se books.
Let me say that. What can I say? This book is called Failing Up. And this is a guy who played in the Hamilton. And I just saw Hamilton for the first time, went to New York and saw it in person, and absolutely loved the message. But I love the book more than I love the play, but I like the play a lot, but I love the book. The book is phenomenal. The guy, he played in, he was one of the original guys who played in it. I'll let you read it and see what part he played, but he was like the number 2 guy, main guy in Hamilton in terms of the parts or whatever. But this guy was amazing. But anyway, his name is Leslie Odom Jr. It's how to take risks, called Failing Up, How to Take Risk, Aim Higher, and Never Stop Learning. It's his story about how he got into Hamilton and the journey. And there's one quote that set me on fire that made me love the book. And again, no Bible verses, no scripture. And I probably read, because I do a lot of Bible teaching already, 70-30. 70 everything else, 30% like books like this one that have Bible verses in it, because I'm all over the Bible all the time. Can I get an amen to that? Christians are all over the Bible a lot, but they're not good sometimes at thinking in a secular context and applying it. So what I hear a lot is that my sermons are, you can apply them. You can leave and say, I heard something that I can put in my shoes. I like this book a lot. I did. It got a couple of bad words, but you didn't heard them before. It's got a couple of bad words. But to answer the question.
Bad word if you don't already know it.
Anyway, bless my grandma, not my grandma. My grandma didn't curse. My auntie used to cuss all the time. No, my auntie used to cuss in several languages. My mama didn't curse at all, like never. And I used to curse, but I cursed only when I was not by the church. I told y'all about when walking past the church. You heard me tell the story? We used to curse coming from elementary school, and the kids would teach me to curse, and so we'd blank, yeah, man, the blank. And then when we get near the church, it was right there on between 47, is that 47? Yeah, 47, 46. There was a church off Hoover, and it had a big cross. And I went to 52nd Street Elementary School. So we walked from 52nd. I'm going back to my house on 47. And so we were getting to the church, and everybody would stop cursing. Hey, man, we're getting to church. Stop. And so we wouldn't curse until we got past the cross. Then we start cursing again. You see, because y'all glad I'm saved, right? but at least I was God-fearing. But I think there's something about this fear of being tainted with secular stuff. And I think you need to read broadly. I think you need to understand about the environment. I read everything. Diane says I read the almanac. I really believe that reading broadens my perspective. Next month in a sermon, I'm going to talk about politics a little bit. I'm going to answer some questions. I'm going to say some things that's going to be fun, interesting. And I'm going to share a couple of secular thoughts with you. And I think I should, because you're thinking about those things, right? Yeah. So I like it. I love it. I gain a lot of strength from reading broadly. And so I hope that helps. But anyway, you want to hear the quote from the book that I like? Filling up? The quote was, he was telling a story in the book about quitting. He wanted to quit and felt like he was failing and felt as if he could not get it together. He'd been in the industry for 10 years, had done a number of things. He'd done some commercials and done a bunch of things, and he'll list those in the book. And if you IMBD him, you can see a lot of what he did. But he'd been in for 10 years, and then things started drying up. And he went to his mentor, and he said, I think I want to quit, find something else to do. And his mentor looked at him and said, that we could find something else for you to do. We could talk about that. But before you quit, I want you to really try. And he paused and said, okay, maybe I don't get this, but for 10 years, I've been trying, right? And he said, I didn't quite understand what he meant by that. But then the mentor went on to say, you are good when the phone is ringing. You are good when people are knocking on your door. But what did you do today? Who did you call today? What emails did you send today? What efforts did you make when the phone is not ringing? So let's really try. And if it doesn't work, that's fine. But let's try when the phone is ringing and when the phone is not ringing. Good God Almighty. I love that idea. Some of us are not moving forward because we're so stuck and don't see that failing sometime is a process and going up and taking risk, aiming higher, and never stop learning. His commitment to learning, his commitment to have someone that he can talk to that can stop him. I'll tell you, one of the things that I think hurts a lot of people is they stop learning. They can't change anything. I hope you read it. This is a don't put him down. In my opinion, this is don't put it down. Yeah, you don't put this down to me. Once you get this and it start burning through your mind, you got to get to the next page. Oh, this dude is bad. I love it. I love this book. It's not long, but anyway, good book.
That's actually our fall. We will have one more meet this year for our quarterly. I think it's October, somewhere along in there. I'll send you information. And that's the book we're going to be discussing. One of the things I want to bring to your attention for those of you that want to read more than what we're sort of giving, because we got to, we don't want this to be like school. Go to rickytemple.com and you can read all the Pastor Rick stuff. You will say, well, I want to read more. I want to know more. But you go there, but we're trying to paste this in a way that everybody can kind of get in. And just as not a plug, because y'all know we don't sell stuff, but we do have the books here. And it's actually on the back, you'll see it's a $20 book. We got a really good deal. I want to make one disclaimer. On the top spine of the book, there's a little black dot there. We're not real sure. And that's why we got the good deal under the dot. But the books are like $10. And they're back there. You can scan it in the bookstore if you want to take the book with you today. Or for those of you that want an electronic copy, that's no problem on that as well.
And one day
maybe I'll show you the next time we gather. I'll show you. I'm gonna probably move us to the other room so we can have all the technology we have, because this is a limited time. We'll figure it out. We're trying to figure out how to do this so we can connect with you online and in person. But I'm an electronic book person, and I'll show you why. Because I can take it with me everywhere I go. And I love Audible, and I get the Audible and the version. This book does not have an Audible version to it. Yeah, and when I like to go back and forth between the two. So what I'll do next time is I'll show you my fancy way of reading. I have a scan read that I go through first. I have a way that I approach a book because I probably read a couple a week. Probably. I whip through quite a few books because of my research requirements and the dynamics of my life. And so I'll talk to you about that. Yeah, I do. I read a lot. Isn't that amazing? It is. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Not Audible, but an electronic version. That's what I have.
Yeah, electronic, but not the Audible.
Okay, I got it.
I'll show you how I interact between the two.
Okay.
So my Audible, give you a quick summary. If I'm reading the book, right, like this on my device, I can then say, oh, I'm about to get in my car and take an hour ride someplace. I can then get in my car, cut on the Audible version, and it will ask me, do you want to pick up where you stop reading? And I'll go, yes. And it will pick up on the last page. I just finished reading on my digital version. And then I can then listen to it for the next hour. And I can get an hour reading in without reading and listen to it all. It's amazing. Get a lot of reading. That's how I fly through books sometimes. And I learned that in researching and doing especially at the master's doctorate, I had to read a lot. And so how do you read a lot? You got to get through all this. It's crazy to read all them books. I'm gonna read all these books, So I had to find a way. And then there are all kinds of tools I can show you. For example, how to mark. You can mark the Audible versions. You can like record certain portions of it. You can also do the same thing with a digital version. But I have a couple of thousand books that are on my device. I am truly. I buy about 150 a year, 120 a year. I buy a lot of books. It's part of my budget. I spend about $10 per book. I like the price points as well. And my goal is to start a publishing company. It's my confession, my dream. I'm gonna start a publishing company called Slingshot Publishing. I write my own way. I write in my own armor. Ta-da-ta-da. And my goal is to have a $10 price point, digital and Audible version, because I love it. It helps me. But I'm gonna write what I want to write, because I'm like David, I wear my own armor.
You think you're an author? Right? Or write a book?
I have a lot to say. When I do a lot of reading, and the other advantage about reading is we are in the world, but we are not of the world. So you cannot just be in your Bible. You don't know the things that are happening around and how to interact with people. The powerful thing about audio so is I was just I said, and so I try not to train my eyes. It also quickens your. I have a medical background. It helps your hearing as we go older. If you're not stimulating those cells, your brain cells and all that, your memory is suffering, your hearing is suffering, but the rest of your eyes is not really advisable with the rays coming from all the electronics to be almost in front of the electronic.
So Hollywood comes in real handy with that.
It does. I love.
My preference, I love the Audible version of this book. Honestly, he reads it himself. Yeah, he reads it himself. I loved it. I mean, I probably, I read, but yes, there's an Audible version of this one, Failing Up. No, the one we just did. The one we just did. Yeah, the one we just did. No, this one has an Audible, and I just love it. I love the way he tells his story. I feel like he's telling his story. Now, is there any other questions before we got 8 more minutes? You know me, I'm a time conscious person. Any more questions for me about any of the things in this book that you want to get my opinion about? And go ahead. And
we're gonna, if you're online, hey, here's your chance, friend. Let me know.
Okay. So I think to end, the most impactful. Okay, the most impactful chapter in the book is when he talked about his grandson Michael going to school and being bullied every day and resisting retaliation on the young man that was bullying him. How that story ended where the same young man that was bullying him actually came to him and asked him to be his Timothy. And the two of them together started praying for everyone in the school. I know if you read it, you know the details of what he was saying. But to live a life that we realize that we are sometimes the only Bible that our peers are going to read. And the fact that this young man, I think 13 years old, lived his life so that he turned his enemy into a dear friend. Yeah. That was so amazing to me. And I think that sometimes I find myself doing that and don't know why, but God is so good and sovereign to give this young man, not only did he change somebody's life, his redemption was obvious.
Oh yeah.
Like that. Any questions? Other questions? Any questions?
Do you like this book? You like this idea? This worth your while? You enjoy the visit? Good. You did.
Just to do this now, just to do the day off, just to do this. I like it.
I think that what as I kind of close out, let me just say this to you. Part of my dream as a pastor is to find ways to connect. I plan to do this with the young people. I think this would be a great book for the youth. This is, I mean, there is such a, you have to find ways to really talk to people. I think that's part of our issue. You're not talking to anybody. There's nobody asking you questions, and that's what books do. They ask me questions that I maybe never knew to ask myself. They force me to see things from another person's perspective. There's something helpful. That's why even in the sermons, if you notice, I have one question a year, and I'm trying to answer that for you all year long. If I have a new question, I'll throw it in, but I'm trying to aim our minds. And I'm trying to say, okay, what do I need to think about? That's why I like books, because I am always thinking. Now, the new book that a book I'm not going to mention to the church tomorrow, because it really has a lot of stuff in it. I'm going to mention it. It's a science book. I'm going to mention it, but I'm not going to have it be a book of the month or at all. You know why? It's got stuff in it. It's a science book. And you want the name of it? You do? Best of you, right? What's the name of this book? Right? It's a science book. It's called what? The Molecule of More.
And if you really like this,
hold on.
In terms of what it does to your thinking. Oh, sorry. I don't get any money for these books, but I am excited that Pastor Rick does let me help with this book. I love books myself. But if you really love this book and the impact that it had on your thinking or the challenge, you would love The Molecule of More. And it really is in Barnes and Noble in the science section, but it talks about the chemical components of your body and how it impacts your thinking and some other parts of your thinking and some other parts. And it does have that. So I do understand the balance that Pastor Rick is talking about, but that's, you know, if you want to read broadly, I'm serious.
It's talking about why people have sex and why they.
And for some people, they keep wanting to do that.
Yeah.
And what is it about sexual addiction and the dynamics involved, the molecules involved. Tomorrow at 11 o'clock, if you want a clue, okay, of what the book kind of talks about, listen to the sermon, the one I'm doing for the young adults. And the bottom line is this. There is a reason. It's called Who's Playing with My Switches? Why am I happy? Why am I sad? Why am I in love? Why am I not in love? Why do I have sexual temptations and I fall for them in and out? Why? What is it that drives me? There's something called dopamine that is the drug of expectation. It's the molecule of expectation. So you walk past a donut shop, right? Oh, no, the better one. You drive past Krispy Kreme, right? You see that flashing light, right? You know what's talking to you? Dopamine, right? It's the expectation of the sweet, the donut. So you go in there, you get the donut, you eat it, right? And you feel great, right? That switch is up, right? But it doesn't stay up. The next switch is called the A and N switch. Say it, come on. A and N. That's no, I'm sorry. H and N. I'm sorry, H and N. Say here and now. Come on. So the here and now switch. So the here and now switch is once you eat the donut and you add it and you ate enough of them, you don't want no more donuts. You wanted the new car, right? You get the new car. Now you don't want to drive the new car. But when you first went to the dealership to pick it up, you were so excited, right? New house.
Hands over heel in love with someone.
There you go. Right. And you're in the here and now. And what he does in the book is he paints this picture of, he says, everything on the ground is here and now. Everything up there is, oh boy, that's the part up there, man. I got to get that. But when you get it, now you got to manage it. And a lot of people are surprised. And again, the audible version of this book is really great. I like it a lot. But I had to get the written version because I know what he was saying, H and N, I know what that was. But I'm telling you, it's here and now. It's the real world. Learning how to, Christians oversimplify things. That's the devil. That's sin. You evil. You need to grow in Jesus. I mean, what does that mean? Grow in Jesus. Do like this. What do you mean? Grow in Jesus. You don't explain what you mean. What this book does is says, please understand what's motivating you. Please understand that your heart is really the pleasure centers of your brain. It's not this thing in your heart. It's not really like the science. Right. But it really does bring clarity to what drives us, so that when I see myself being tempted to do something that I shouldn't do, I understand that's being driven by, and he calls it the lie of anticipation. It's a lie. It's not what you think. You know that now because you had it. But for a young person, they don't know that that's not true. And that he's a handsome dude, but he don't believe in working. Once you get him, you know what I'm saying? Once the sex is over with and all the nudity is over with, see, that's why I ain't gonna make it a book for the church. Once all that's over with, it changes.
Well, final thing online, and it is our noontime hour.
Okay, her name is Gioia. She said, "Oh, my biggest takeaway was the point made. Life is hard. When we accept that it is no longer hard, nor does being hard matters. Powerful. So excited about book club and look forward to reading more."
Oh, nice.
Thank you. Our time is up, and we do end on time because we believe what Thank you for your time. Can I pray for you? Father, we thank you for this time together. We ask your grace as we read together. We got books for a while. This is going to be something we're going to do for a while because we are committed to learning and growing. We read with a heart to learn. Bless us as we grow in Jesus' name. Amen. Now, remember, if you want to email me and you have a question, you need to get to Ask It Online. My email is pastor@overcomingbyfaith.org. One more time, pastor@overcomingbyfaith.org. And I'll be glad to answer your questions. Bye-bye. Have a great day. Bye, y'all.